Arun from Mauritius. The title of his paper is Indian Philosophical Thought and Ramacharita-manas.
Mr. President and delegates, I have come from the land of Ramayana, Mauritius. I want to speak in Hindi. Can I do that? मैं मॉरिशस से आया हूँ, रामायण के देश से। सारा संसार जानता है कि मॉरिशस एकमात्र ऐसा देश है जिसकी पार्लियामेंट ने एक एक्ट पास किया फॉर द प्रोपगेशन ऑफ रामायण। द ओनली कंट्री इन द होल वर्ल्ड हु हैज मेड ए लॉ, who has enacted Ramayana Center to propagate Ramayana. We are involved in this activity, and I'm very thankful to the organizers here who invited us to present our viewpoint. बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है हमको आप सबके साथ, और हम आप सबको इनवाइट करना चाहते हैं टू कम टू मॉरिशस एंड सी yourself what we are doing there. In Indian system, philosophy is not an intellectual exercise to know the creation. Philosophy is to understand God, to reach to the God by various philosophical thought. Aurobindo said that soul has come from the God and she wants to go back to the God. This is the logic of the creation. Every soul is trying to reach to the God, and she has to reach. There is no other way out. Destination is one, to reach to the God, but path can be many. There is no restriction of path. You can take a path of your choice, but the destination is one, that is salvation, liberation, and moksha. Somebody asked Aurobindo, if this is the case, then why you have become sadhu? If every soul is reaching to the God, automatically there is no choice at all, then why you have become saint? Why you have become yogi and sadhu here in Pondicherry? He gave a nice answer. He told destination is fixed for everyone, that I agree with you. But I, becoming by sadhu, saint, change my speed. You are going on foot, doing all your worldly work, but I have become sadhu, I change my speed. Changing speed can be done, but you cannot say that I, by reading scripture, will go to God, and the other fellow who does not know how to read scripture will not go. No, it can't be. Second thing, which is very important in Hindu philosophy, that no one is good and no one is bad. Everyone is equally good. Ramakrishna Paramhans, the great guru of Vivekananda, used to tell that no path is small, no path is great. Somebody came to see him and he asked him, tell me which God is greater, Lord Shiva, Ram, Krishna, which one is greater? Ramakrishna told one of his disciples, Bhavan, young lad, tell my dear which God is big and which God is small. He got up, this young boy, and told Guruji, I was not there in which committee this decision was taken. I was not there. I was absent. So Ramakrishna liked this answer. This kind of question is not relevant in Hindu philosophy. And that's why everyone is equally good. Everyone has a right to choose a path to reach to the God. This is the basic thing. So we in Mauritius have accepted the path of Ramayana to realize God. What is path of Ramayana? Tulsi said, no big philosophy is going to help you because man is very weak in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is a difficult era. Everyone spiritually has become weak and materially he is very strong. Materialistic word, he is strong, but spirituality, he is not that strong. So Tulsi said, Nahi kali karaman bhagati viveku, Nahi kali karaman bhagati viveku, Ram naam avalamban eku. In Kali Yuga, bhakti, not possible to do. One day you do fast and you cry. Bhakti you cannot do. Karma yoga is also very difficult. Knowledge, path of knowledge is also very difficult. What is left for you? So Tulsi said, Ram naam avalamban eku. Just chant the name of Lord, that will help you. Bhav kubhav anakhya lasahu, naam jape mangal disi dasahu. If you are chanting the name of Lord, you don't need to take bath before and after. Well, no. Bhav, you are in good mood, carry on. Kubhav, you are in bad mood, carry on. Anak, if you are in anger, you are angry, carry on with Ram's name. Lasahu, you are feeling laziness, carry on with his name. In any condition you chant the name of Lord, you are going to get the good result. So Tulsi says, Ram naam mani deep dhare, ji hade hari dwar, Tulsi bhitar baharahu, jo chahasihu jiyar. If you want a clear and candid path for you to reach to the God, you chant the name of Lord. That's your simplest work which can help you. Ulta naam japat jag jana, Balmiki bhai brahma samana. Balmiki cannot chant the name of Lord. Translated into Hindi in his book Ramcharitmanas, God comes on this earth to protect right people. But the problem is that when God comes here, he has to go. Because on this planet earth, everybody is here to go. Nobody will be here permanently because we are all living in a rest house. We have to be here for some time and then we have to go. Nobody can claim that I will be eternally here. So God also, when he comes, he goes. Then what will be the solution? Every time God will come. the Tulsi added a bit more than Lord Krishna. Krishna said, I come to protect right people, good people. Then Tulsi added a bit more for Lord Ram. कि सोई जस गाय भगत भव तरही कृपा सिंधु जन हित तनु धरही. Tulsi added one thing more. When God comes, protects you and goes, then what will you do? तो सोई जस गाय भगत भव तरही. You chant the glory of Lord. When you chant His glory, you get salvation automatically. You don't have to do big thing. You don't have to do ritualistic approach for life. You just do bhakti, do Lord's name. Just chant His name, your salvation is guaranteed 100%. And that's why for a layman who has no Shakti to do the big exercise, intellectual exercise, spiritual exercise, the bhakti movement has given a very powerful tool to everyone. Chant the name of Ram. When you are chanting His name, you are 100% on right path to realize God. Ved Puran Sant Mat Yehu, Sakala Sukrit Phal Ram Sanehu. Every scripture says that be with Lord Ram. That's the best way of getting the realization, the salvation. I'm here with you to tell you that whenever you feel like coming Mauritius to chant the name of Lord Ram, please feel free to come there. When Ram became king, he told one of his supporters, Nishad Rajguh, who is king of forest, he told, you are very close to me. So don't wait for invitation to come to Ayodhya. Whenever you, tum mama priya bharat samabhrata, sada raho pur avat jata. You all my brother, my friend, don't wait for invitation. Whenever you feel like coming Mauritius, you please do come. And when you reach to the airport of Mauritius, you say, Jai Shri Ram, and people will bring you to me. You don't have to pay for that. So you can feel happy. You come Mauritius. I don't know what is the time, whether I have taken much time, I don't know. But my point is only this, आप हमारे साथ रहें, आएं, आनंद करें हमारे साथ, भगवान श्री राम का नाम लें. इस संसार में परमात्मा की भक्ति से बढ़कर के और कोई चीज़ नहीं है. इसे पाने के लिए, इसे अपने जीवन में उतारने के लिए कुछ ज़्यादा आपको नहीं करना है. केवल परमात्मा के नाम का स्मरण करते हुए आगे बढ़ना है. भगवान श्री राम ने कहा था, न कोई बड़ा है न छोटा है, शिव मेरे हैं, मैं शिव का हूँ. शैव वैष्णव का जो संघर्ष था, जो झगड़ा था आपस में, उसे तुलसी ने इतनी आसानी से निपटा दिया, ख़त्म किया. उन्होंने कहा, न राम बड़े न शिव बड़े, दोनों इक्वली गुड हैं. मम द्रोही शिवद्रोही मम दास कहावा, सो नर मोहि सपनेऊ नहीं भावा. यदि आप राम कहते हैं कि शिव के विरोधी हो, तो मेरे भी विरोधी हो, मेरे भक्त नहीं हो सकते. और इसीलिए एक बहुत ऊंची बात कही उन्होंने अपने भक्तों से, अपने देशवासियों से, कि एक चीज़ सदा याद रखना कि एक कहु और गुपुत मत सुनहु कहूँ कर जोर, शंकर भजन बिना नर भगति न पावे मोर. No no religion can say like this as Ram is telling. Ram is telling that I am with you when you worship Lord Shiva. No quarrel, no fight, no negative thing. Go positively in the life and you will realize, you will see God is with you. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, नमस्कार। अगर आप कुछ मुझसे पूछना चाहें 1-2 मिनट में तो पूछ लें, क्योंकि फिर दूसरा सेशन शुरू होगा। If you want to ask any question about anything in Mauritius or Hindu dharma, whatever I know, I will try to tell you. Contented or disgusted? Anything? Eh?
सर, प्रश्न नहीं है,
हाँ
जिज्ञासा है।
जी।
आपने बार बार अपने इस बढ़िया व्याख्यान में हम लोगों को आमंत्रित किया।
जी।
आमंत्रित किया, बहुत ही मतलब दिल गदगद हो गया। लेकिन हम लोग किस रूप में जाएं वहाँ? बस मुझे ये केवल मार्गदर्शन करें, आपसे यही निवेदन है।
नहीं, एनी टाइम, जब भी हमने अभी अगस्त में किया था रामायण कॉन्फ्रेंस, हम चाहते थे कि सब लोग आवें लेकिन पहुंच नहीं सके। लेकिन मैं समझता हूं कि आज एक अच्छा फोरम मिला है टू इनवाइट राइट पीपल फॉर राइट वर्क, एंड आई एम थैंकफुल दैट यू हैव रेज दिस क्वेश्चन। आप आ जाइए, अपने से जब भी आना हो तो आइए, नहीं तो हमें बताइए कि आप कब आना चाहते हैं। न्योता इज परमानेंटली फॉर यू, निमंत्रण इज देयर, जब भी चाहें आप आ जाएं, क्योंकि राम के काम में स्पेशल इन्विटेशन की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है। आप जानते हैं दुनिया का एकमात्र भगवान राम है, who walks barefoot 14 years in the exile। अगर राम वनवासी नहीं हुए होते तो जन जन के हृदयवासी भी नहीं होते। तो वनवासी होना, कष्ट उठाना, अच्छे भविष्य के लिए कितना अच्छा होता है, ये राम से ज़्यादा कोई नहीं जानता। और आप भी मॉरिशस आएँ तो आप यहाँ से वनवासी होकर जाएंगे, वहाँ हम आपको राम के हृदय में बैठाएंगे। बहुत धन्यवाद, जब चाहें तब आएँ। हम वहाँ रामायण सेंटर चलाते हैं, बहुत अच्छा है, आप देखेंगे। दानुता तो हमारे यहाँ आ चुकी हैं, रामायण सेंटर में गई थी, बड़ी कृपा की थी इन्होंने, और ये बताएंगी आपको कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Okay.
Before you give another one, I would like to send around 2 of our journals for everybody to see. Could you announce it, or can I announce it?
Yeah, just please.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now use this interruption to send around 2 of our journals published in Prague for your interest to look, and you will be welcome to contribute, and then I will be happy to present these journals.
In architecture, one of the primary elements is land, followed by construction and ornamentation. Land plays immense role. We shall see the impact of virtues and characteristics of land on a country, city, village, and even a human being. The aspect of virtues and characteristics of land has never been discussed. This unexplored area has vast potential, yet unstudied characters hidden in land known as Akar, Varna, Gandhaischa, Rupa, Shabda, Rasa, Sprisha, means contour, color, order, feature, sound, and touch, are discussed in various treatises of Vastu Shastra, the science of Indian architecture, which should be accorded consideration. We may enumerate a few compositions like Samrangan Sutradhar of King Bhoj, Aparajit Pricha of Bhuvandev, Mansar, Maimatam, Vastuvidya, which hold import. These treatises base their wisdom on Vedic literature. The people of those times had keenly discovered the science inherited in characters of land. I quote some of the mantras from Vedic texts like Satpat Brahman, Khadir Griya Sutra, Govil Griya Sutra, Apastam Griya Sutra, Manav Griya Sutra, etc. For example, Tad Vaspa Sat Samam Syat, Samam Sad Vibhransi Syat, Abhibhransi Sat Prak Pravanam Syat, Tasmat Dakshinita Pratyuchit Miyosyat. The characters of land are the part and parcel of life energy. For that reason, we express our respect to Mother Earth, Mata Bhumi Putroham Prithibhya. Tasya Hiranya Vakshase Prithibhya Akaram Namah. Now we must also see how some Western scholars have defined the land. Strabo believed that environment caused the uprising and downfall of Roman Empire. Immanuel Kant, Frederick Redgel, Vidal de la Blas, Herbertson, Huntington, Griffith Taylor, and many others have described the relation between human and nature. Alexander von Humboldt wrote in his book Cosmos that North Pole to South Pole, there is a soul in Earth. Alan Church's sample has described that man is product of our surface. This means not merely that he is a child of the earth, dust of her dust, but that the earth has mothered him, set him tasks, directed his thoughts. She has entered into his bone and soul and tissue, into his mind and soul. Indian science of architecture describes more vividly the virtues and characters of the land, prevailing over all other factors in nature, and that how these elements shape the cultures, society, art, and architecture. My revered father, late Professor Vidyadhar Pandey, decoded the meaning of terminology of the science. For example, he explained the words like Brahmani Bhumi, Kshatriya Bhumi are not used for the virtues and are used for virtues and characters and not for the present caste system. This type of categorization is also found for planets, zodiac signs, seasons, deities, plants, and so many. His explanations helped me to grasp the fundamentals of this science. After extensively surveying towns, villages, industries, monuments, metropolitan cities, temples, etc., in all over India, and interviewing a number of eminent scholars, managers, villagers, and workers of industrial areas for over 3 decades, and visiting every place at least thrice a time in my lifetime, I would like to share some points from perspective of Indian architecture with reference to some characters of the cities. To start with Allahabad, the place accomplishing grief, mourn, and pathos. This city could not facilitate any type of business unlike Varanasi, Patna, Bharuch since ancient times. It could not provide a throne to a king. Out of the history, though the surrounding towns and cities all nourished a ruler. Since independence, this city has had rich political strength as a series of prime ministers and politicians like Pandit Madan Mohan Malvi, Pandit Nehru ji, Shastri ji, BP Singh, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Bahuguna, Amitabh Bachchan, M.M. Joshi, who emerged here. In spite of such support, this city could not flourish in industries or in commercial activities like other Kawal cities, Kanpur, Agra, Varanasi, Lucknow. Now let us have a look on industries and industrial areas surrounding these cities. A truth for this city is that it was well known a big center where people abandoned their lives till 16th century. समुद्र पत्न्योर जलसन्निपाते पूतात्मना मत्र किलाभिषेकात् तत्वावबोधेन पिनापि भूय तनुत्यजाम नास्ति शरीरबन्धः न वेदवचनात् तात न लोकवचनादपि मतिरुत्कुम्रीयाते प्रयागे मरणं प्रति गंगा यमुनयोर मध्ये करिक्साग्निञ्च साधयेत्. It has later it was termed as religious suicides by the historians. This act has been mentioned in absurd stone inscriptions of Aditya Sen 7th century AD and also Khairaha copper plate of Esa Karnadev dated 11th century. As per information from Hensang, the approx number of suicides was 1 lakh per year. These characters of the city, this city can probably be defined best by the Indian science of architecture. The land which is low in southeast direction and high in northeast, southwest and south-northwest is known as Senak, resulting for disappearance of prosperity and death events. Nicham agno bhaveducham nirtisan vayusu senakam nam tadvastu nashaya maranaya cha. We see the disappearance of prosperity in industries and commercial activities and its non-existence as the capital of a king. The land of Allahabad has natural slope towards southeast direction. After the construction of fort on Sangam by Akbar, 1558 AD, the area of fort along with its nearby land was raised in the southeast, affecting the results of Shok Vastu to minimize to some extent. Since then, no religious suicide has taken place. It seems that the effect of Vastu concern is still present in partial proportion. Impression of sorrow still pervades there. It could be well felt by going through the literature composed at this land. The literary themes of all the scholars like Nirala, Mahadevi Verma, Biyogi Hari, Nagarjun, Agge, Ganganath Jha were not Sringar, Veer, Vatsalya or Bhakti Pradhan in literatures like Ramcharitmanas, Raghuvans, Gitanjali, Mudra Rakshasam, Kamayani, Rasmirathi, but sorrowful. We probably cannot expect beyond sorrowful thoughts from this city. Due to effect of land's character, we can easily understand why the city was a religious society center and could not develop industries or big business activities. Varanasi is the seat of salvation, and except for the science of Indian architecture, even the modern studies cannot define why the parliament buildings are on Kshatriya land. And we can find that the art and architecture of buildings like King's Palace or Parliament on this type of land. As economical perspective, I surveyed more than 100 industrial areas in India and abroad. Millions and billions of rupees get stuck and then eventually converts into waste in making buildings and buying machinery. But when zoning of industrial area is not done on required type of land, the entire industry and industrial estate result into failure. The land possessing other factors but lacking the desired characteristics will not succeed, whereas the desired character of the land acts as facilitate and it's crucial of sustainable development. Having all facilities, the industrial area of industry may be ruined due to land factor. We can improve the economy by selecting the proper land, planning and designing with the science of Indian architecture. There seems to be no successful industrial area which is anti to this science. If it is successful, whether planned or unplanned, it follows the fixed prescribed land pattern. We have studied and explored many dimensions in architecture. Likewise, now we need to explore the character of land and its effect in order to cover all the required dimensions of architecture. The significance and fixed pattern of the science of Indian architecture can be seen anywhere in the world. It is omnipresent. Now we're discussing the effect of land on civilizations. And we have changes. This image shows the old civilization which are found between 30 degrees of latitude. Civilization means the stage of human social development and organization which is considered most advanced technically, educationally in any aspect. The period of this civilization goes back to 3,000 to 10,000 years. Now we can see this 30 degree steep latitude moving up in north. And nowadays, this zone is more advanced in all manners with respect to other areas on Earth. The characteristics of land due to change in electromagnetic field of Earth is main reason for these changes. According to Milankovitch, Earth axis is 23 degree 27 minute, and the notable point is that it changed up to 31 degree 39 minute in approx 40,000 years. We can understand that the change of 8 degree in axis leads to many changes like magnetic north and south pole, the angle of sun rays, etc. Another important change which we see this is that the orbit of the Earth will change into the complete circle. This leads to change in the whole environment and electromagnetic field of Earth. In this way, the virtues and characteristics of the land changes dramatically, and we find its impact on Earth's surface. And we see the civilization corresponding accordingly and alteration in habitats. This hypothesis needs more research with the involvement of Indian architecture to explain the civilizations and future change in magnetic field of Earth and its impact on 30 degree strip of latitude. Only Indian science of architecture defines virtues and characteristics of land. Quality and characteristic of land which are natural and omnipresent should be experimented in letter and spirit. If we don't plan to do zoning according to this science, the project is not going to sustain neither develop. With scientific temperament in modern planning, the rules, regulations, and predefined characteristics of land given in ancient texts of Indian architecture must be taken into consideration, and the development of cities and towns should be processed by including those percepts. Need of the hour is better and deeper understanding of this untapped aspect of architecture, which is latent but has obvious manifestations. Once again, Janam Bibhrati Bahuda Vivachasam Nana Dharmanam Prithvi Thaukasam Shastram Dhara Dravin Same Duham Dhruve Dhenurana Paspuranti. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Pandey. Now we move to the second speaker, Professor Narendra Wagal, please.
President and colleagues, the paper is on image worship in India and its relationship with actual images of gods and goddesses. A devout Hindu householder in India, daily or periodically, may offer puja, that's worship, in his household shrine. Different terms are used, but Devagraha is a favorite one of mine. To the miniature images of lineage deities, Kula Devata, chosen deities, Ishta Devata, and the local guardian deities, Grama Devata, carved of stones and cast in metal. The worshipper, both collectively and individually, find beauty, power, energy, and wisdom embedded in the artistically carved images of the deities. Many deities are anthropomorphic, sculpted to represent the deity in human or superhuman forms. Other images are in abstract shape, iconic, for instance, the Shivalinga, sometimes encased in silver or bronze casings or masks, indicating the potency and creative power of the god Shiva. Further, each deity so represented in an image shape may have several manifestations, each one representing a different side of deity's personality. However, the image's artistic merit is as important as its spiritual content. The regular adoration and worship of deity in its image form by a devout householder is done through elaborate rituals. A waving of lighted fire, that is arati, to the deity, the sacred mantras addressed to it, the hymns of praise, offering of food, they all constitute a total religious experience. The essential aspect of the worship is not congregational, but an individual's effort, individual's offering to the deity. The act of seeing and paying respect to the images of the deity is called darshana, literally meaning seeing, observing, internalizing the image. Darshana generates spiritual energy that allows the devotees to experience direct visual communication with the deity. Not only the devotee sees the image of the deity, but also the deity is understood to see the worshipper. Earl Coleman's statement that art and religion have been reciprocal powers, religion inspiring art, and it in turn communicating the numinous, rings true. Coleman also finds no essential distinction between aesthetics and the spiritual. Another theologian art historian, Thomas Mertland, also says that religious art as a form of aesthetic appreciation is a kind of a human religious behavior and spiritual behavior of a community as well. In fact, the 10th century Kashmiri philosopher and aesthetician Abhinavagupta had recently postulated a correspondence between mystical ecstasy and aesthetic joy. My paper does not attempt the technical and stylistic analysis of Indian religious art in its historical setting, but synoptically surveys three phases of the evolution and development of sacred images, murti, as art forms for worship and adoration in early Buddhism and Hinduism's ancient, medieval, and current practices. The first phase begins around 400 BCE to 100 CE. Representation of some of the Vedic deities from their abstract form to concrete images in the late Vedic and Upanishadic period cannot be ruled out. Brahma Sampati, he descended from heaven down to earth and pleads with the Buddha for the sake of human welfare, to preach his doctrine, newly found doctrine. And for that he had to descend and salute him and use the term Bhante, that's the pronoun used by inferior person to superior. Another example, a god complains to the Bhikkhu Samiti. He says it is not easy for him to approach the Buddha as he is surrounded by other gods of high status. Now the gods are afraid of Buddha and his message. When they hear the Buddha preaching that the life is impermanent, becomes frightened and uneasy. And the text adds, thus potent is Tathagata, the Buddha that is, over the Devas and their world, and such might, such power as he. Now this is a good example. One Baka Brahma, he felt that no one should come to Brahma world. And he was seated, cross-legged in the air. Buddha knew that this was happening, and he rose to the Brahma heaven and rose above this Baka Brahma, flames emanating from his shoulder, and thus humiliating Baka Brahma. There were several such examples to demonstrate the Buddha's superiority of the gods. Now, one example which is rather touching is in Theravada example. A monk Suniti, he was a kind of a Dalit. He himself admits that he was hated, despised by people around him. And he approached the Buddha, he pleaded with the Buddha to accept him as a monk, which he did. Then Sunita became enlightened. I mean, at night, he destroyed his asavas of desire, greed, and ignorance. When that happened, in the morning, at the dawn, gods from heaven, the top god Brahma, and Sakka, next to him in a way, in a rank, they came down And they saluted Sunita monk and again used the same address, Bhante, a very high address. So you can see the transformation. Now again, I must say this is in Pali canonical text, and which means there will be certain bias involved here. But nonetheless, Buddha was elevated as a top-ranking human being above all the gods of the heavens. This is the important thing, and this particular example it leads to Buddha image. Now, at a certain stage, Buddha, that is the phase 2, from 100 CE to 600 CE, you have emergence of not only Buddha image, but emergence of Hindu gods' images. Now, by 2nd century AD, you have Buddha had undergone, other features, human features of Buddha had undergone several changes. Especially among Mahayanis, although I think some would question that, some scholars say it all began with Mahasangikas. Mula Sarva Sivadins also claimed Buddha's superior status, and Buddha has almost become omniscient person. And Ashwagosha immortalizes this particular aspect of Buddha, his omniscience. 3 minutes only? Yes. No, I think something is wrong. Okay, I have only 5 minutes left. Well, anyways, that's the story, but I think I have to skip all the Hindu or Buddhist things and come to Hindu aspect of it. I would suggest that Buddha's image is a high god, quote unquote, and his popularity, and especially popularity as indicated by Ashoka's royal patronage. Hindu Brahmin intellectuals and ritualists had to reorient their own understanding of world of the gods. So I think first inkling we get it in, it's a very important inkling, in Purva Mimamsaka Sutras. You find the nature of deities, Devata Adhikarana. Said deity possesses a bodily form, Vigrahatta Devata. The deity really consumes food given as offerings, Devata Bhunkte. The deity gets truly satisfied with the offerings, Prasadati Devata. The deity rewards the worshipper with desired fruit. The deity can be owner of property. That's very important. Arthapati Devata. In other words, deity is rooted in soil. So you find that Hindu intellectuals are trying to reorient their approach, and we find the emergence of, around this time, images of Hindu gods. It's a major transformation. And they are, all the Hindu gods are now given human attributes, accessibility, which was not there. And I would suggest that this was due to the powerful influence Buddhism had on population of the area. This is one area which the second phase. Now, third phase is from 600 AD to modern days, and this particular phase is totally dominated by Hindu, rise of Hindu imagery or image worship, and Agama literature is a real clue to that aspect. Now, Agamas, as you know, is Shaiva Agama, then there's Pancharatra and Vaishashika Vaishnava Agamas, then Shakta Agamas. But every Agama has one thing clear. They have 4 categories: Jnana, Yoga, Kriya, Archa. Now, Kriya and Archa are important for us in the sense that Kriya would involve the construction of temples, the size of the images, and how to give or breathe life into images. And Archa is the daily worship. All the forms of daily worship are clearly defined, and those are being practiced even today. So in a way, I will stop with 2 passages, again belonging to 16th century. This is by Sant Eknath, a Maharashtrian saint, and he wrote extensively, a prolific writer. And he says, he talks about image worship. And this is how he visualizes image, God in image form in his mind's eye. He says, this is a translation from Marathi, a large portion. This was a commentary on, or a gloss on Bhagavata Purana, incessantly calling upon God's name. Because of God's doing, a bhakta becomes madly entwined in his yearning for God. His whole self undergoes a transformation. Tears flow from his eyes. His body shudders intensely. His breathing grows heavy. Acutely, he is spiritually awakened. He chokes with euphoria. Goosebumps cover his entire body. His eyelids remain half open. His face becomes expressionless. Repeating God's name constantly, seeing God, God's image. He is overcome by God, love of God. Uncontrollably, he starts weeping. The weeping turns into a frenzied laughter. He laughs and weeps at the same time. Ecstatically dancing, he starts singing songs, extolling God. Ending his praise to God with a clear voice, he proclaims, he proclaims, there is no duality that I experience. I am the only truth there is in the world. I am both a singer as well as one who hears that singing. I am that song. This is a commentary on Eknath Bhagavat Purana, 9:32-3. I think I have...
Now, Asia houses about 60% of the total language speakers of the world. The benevolent, influential relationship with Sanskrit are all on Middle Indo-Aryan with those other languages spoken in South Asia and Southeast Asia has been well recognized, and I need not repeat the same thing again. Hundreds of Sanskrit words are attested as far as in Tagalog as in the following. Tagalog is a kind of a language spoken in Philippines, also known as a standard Filipino. So a number of these words are actually derived from Sanskrit. I'm sorry, I think you cannot really see this one, it's far away. Maybe I'll read it for you. Agama is science. I think most of these things are familiar. And Balita is a derivative of Varta. Budhi is from Bodhi. Katha is, of course, a Sanskrit Katha. Divata is from Devata. Diva is Deva. Dukha is Dukha. Gajya is from Gaja. Guru is Guru. These are the words which are used in Tagalog but borrowed from Sanskrit as far as till Philippines. So the extent of Sanskrit influence in Southeast Asia is very well known. So these are the examples, and the spread of it, is very clearer. However, the influence of Sanskrit is less known with respect to the languages of Central Asia. Central Asia hosts at least two major language families, that is Turkic and Mongolic, forming the main link between the Caspian Sea and the China on the Silk Route. Unlike in the case of South Asia and Southeast Asia, where Sanskrit and Old Indo-Aryan had more or less directly involved in the display of its influence, in the Central Asia, Turkic and Mongolic have come under the influence only through indirect means. Turkic and Mongolic families comprise of about 25 and a dozen languages respectively. This I have mentioned already. A large number of words of Sanskrit origin have entered the Asian languages, Central Asian languages through Tibetan and Uyghur. And these are the words which can be seen, very common in Mongolic. I'll read it again. So, Angarak, this is Angarak, this is Mas, Ain is Joni, Bodhi is knowledge, Buga is Mruga, Garag is Graha, Gun is count, Guni, or Mandal is sphere, disk or rebirth, Mandar is hail, Angi is, of course, class, group, or a division, Brahaspati is a Jupiter or a Thursday, Bothi is a volume, Buddh is Mercury and Wednesday, Gad is Garuda, etc., etc. So a number of words, also many more. Like Nimbag is lemon, and Samgadi is Sanskrit, Sansar is the cosmos, space, sugar is Shukra, Sumya is Monday, that's Somya, and Tivi is Divi, Chihar is sugar, Swilag is Shlok, etc. So a number of words, and some of the words are very interesting. Ardhane is a jewel, is from Ratna, and Arha is right, is Arhata, once right, and Arahu is Rahu. So the word initial vowels that you see there are actually added by Mongolic in the beginning of the words, which begin with R initials, positions. So Sanskrit loans also occur along with the same thing that we have read now, and also there are more. Some of the Sanskrit loans in Turkic include Arzi is Rishi, Erdeni is Ratna, Jan is actually like Dhyana, coming from Dhyana, also found in Japanese and also Chinese as Zen, and Asangi is Asankhya as innumerable, and Vaiduri is actually Vaidurya of Sanskrit. So some of these words are found in Turkic and various Turkic languages. Central Asia was a meeting place, it's a melting pot for different ethnic groups, languages and cultures. Ancient Silk Road facilitated it. Sanskrit was the contact language. However, this does not explain all. So there is an alternate story here. Recent studies have shown that there are a number of words between the Dravidian, Mongolian and Turkic that have formed with the formal and semantic similarities that demand explanation. So there are words which are common between the Dravidian, Mongolic and Turkic which cannot be explained as only through borrowing. Recent findings of research offer proof that the origins of Dravidian languages is firmly rooted with the Central Asian linguistic groups, namely Mongolian and Turkic. This piece of research has some irresistible claims with respect to the composition of Indian linguistic communities. It opens up a totally refreshing source of prehistoric composition of the Indian subcontinent. Hundreds of words, including the basic vocabulary, are found to be common between the Dravidian, Turkic, and Mongolian. Shared similarities in basic vocabulary, like in body parts, kinship terms, number words, and pronouns, and fauna are common across these languages. The motivation comes from these things that also includes a basic verbs denoting basic activities like be, do, create, move, grow, and rise, see, tell, talk, laugh, smile, rest, sleep, drink, spit, lick, bite, weave, and cover, cut, heat, burn, fire, mix, play, pass, and exchange, etc. These words are semantic equivalents are found in these languages. Some interesting common words reconstructed for Proto-Dravidian and Proto-Mongolic are, these are the things, maybe it's also not really visible to you, I'll read for you. The words nai has also alternative nai in Dravidian languages, which means dog, found in Mongolian as nochai. And the Dravidian word, the second one, nui, or nui, a well or a water hole, is found in Mongolian as a nuke. And the other one, nei or nei, to weave, is found in Mongolian as a neche. And neyam or neyam as a friendship or a comrade or spouse is found in Mongolian as nyocher. And many such words, okay. These are some of the words. The semantic parallels and shared cognates between these languages are a clear case of crucial evidence that, okay, these words are not borrowed. So, for example, you can see chappai, which has a semantic parallel in Mongolian. Also chappai, which is a synonym, not the synonym, it has a polysemic word. Insipid, tasteless, also found in Mongolian. And another chapai with a weak, lean and despicable or mean, also found in Mongolian. And ettu, it is of course to raise and to lift, height or high, also found in Mongolian as it. And ettu, another meaning, invigiling a trick or contrivance, found in Mongolian as it, magic and craft. So there are a number of such words, okay, shared between Mongolian and Dravidian. Also many such words, okay, you can see these things. The common word, the karu, is black or dark, also found in Mongolian as kara. And karu is a dark cloud or season, the rainy season, found in Mongolian as a kabur. So the intervocalic labial consonant is deleted. Then what you see is the long vowel in Dravidian is a clear case of evidence that, okay, this is not a borrowing. And many more words shared between the Mongolian and Dravidian, which are actually shown here, akkai or akka, etc., in different senses. And call is the foot or a leg, is also found in Mongolian as a call, leg or foot. And many other things are there. Chikku, which is thick, dense, which is of course has a formal similarity with the following word, chikku, and more number of pairs of words which are shared between the Mongolian and Dravidian. I think the pronouns and between the Turkic, maybe some interesting words. Cut is a cut, cup is a door, and to cover, kara is black, shared between Turkic and Dravidian. A bull is a corner, and in Dravidian it is mula. And bowl is free or empty, it is in Turkic, it is bosh in some old Turkic, and in Dravidian it is pole. So many more number of words. Yeah. So aberrant morphological realizations, anomalous stem formations, parallel occurrences of peculiar morphological patterns are crucial evidence of the common inheritance of the two families. So they are not just simply borrowings across. So this is an indication that, okay, we should make a kind of alternative statement. The prehistoric human migrations between the Asian countries within the inner Asia are now on a firm footing, or some references. And thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rao, for your presentation. Now, I would like to invite Professor Sasibala to present your paper. Thank you.
Professor Iwayan Ardik from Indonesia, chairing this session, and all the scholars of eminence from India and from all over the world. I find it as a great opportunity to share my research, discuss, and find some answers to the questions that are still not, I haven't found any answers. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about Kailashnath temple at Ellora, especially the symbols encoded. And I'm focusing on the roofs of the sections of these temples. Sacred architecture, painting and sculpture, they have many levels of visualization and understanding, and show us the ways for the unity of the Atma with Paramatma. All these sacred structures, they follow prescribed rules in Sanskrit texts. The style and architecture of Indian temples have traveled to Southeast Asian and East Asian countries, but in this paper, I'm going to talk about, on the basis of my research and documentation, about the Kailashnath temple at Ellora, which so far, as I know, has no parallel anywhere in the world, especially the symbolism found on the roofs of various sections of the temple. I'm going to present my hypothesis and keeping it open for the scholars for further suggestions. Scholars have agreed that carving began sometimes at around 770 AD and was completed by 913 AD, although there is no fixed date given anywhere about this carving out of this temple. They say that it took around 150 years. It is agreed that it was built after the Kailashnath temple in Tamil Nadu. This is uniquely carved out monolith, a wonder for the modern world and an edifice of symbols. It is one of the magnificent temples. It is the best example of timeless craftsmanship. But here I have a question that Ellora, lying on the ancient trade route, was visited by Xuanzang. So how could it be built in 8th century or 8th, 9th, 10th century? Amazingly, I found, looking in detail at the statues, the panels, the walls, there is no breaking or splitting of or any chisel marks anywhere in the temple. This is not a cave temple like others, but a structure open to sky. There is an array of divine images, dikpalas, guard in the front, 2 sages on the 2 sides I found, sitting at the entrance, identified as Maharshi, Vyasa and Valmiki, or maybe they are the Sthapitis. Gajalakshmi emerges from the lotus pond. Shiva sits in yogic posture on one side and a Raudra posture on the other, below the Nandi shrine. There are guardians and manifestations of Vishnu and Shiva, such as Lingodbhava Shiva, Shiva in Urdhvajanu posture, Varun sitting on Makara, Naga Queen, Ganga, Yamuna, Yakshaza, Kinnaras, Gandharvas. The walls are full of panels. 3-dimensional figures look so different if you look at them from different angles. A number of figures are mutilated, but still scholars have been working on them meticulously. Number of panels and statues are identified, but the symbolism of the figures carved on the ceilings and roofs and their connections have not been researched. So I'm coming to it. This is how it looks like from above. Yeah. First, I want to show you that it is said by the sacred geographers that all these sacred structures are situated on ley lines. Location is important at Ellora also. It is also situated on an energy line. Because the alignment is important, and also the alignment with certain stars and planets, because there is always a bond between the stars and man's destiny. Randall Carlson, an expert on sacred geography, has sent me this photo, And he says that a cosmic tempo based on sacred geometry, encoded in myth and mystical architecture throughout the earth, governs the unfolding of world for ages, the rise and fall of civilizations, etc. Here you can see how this temple looks like and how it is divided into various sections. A temple, as agreed, is an earthly copy on a reduced scale of a celestial paradise. It's a heavenly mansion composed of many levels of pavilions, terraces, ponds, gardens, rising above each other as though covering on every side of the slope of the celestial mountain Sumeru. The question is inside the temple. There can be shikharas of many types. The dome here is surmounted by a pinnacle, which is to bear on top of a kalasha or a kumbha. But I feel kalasha more than a kumbha. The whole tower is an enumeration of the hierarchies of cosmos, centering around the world axis Mount Sumeru. Many Sanskrit texts, including Bhuvanakosha from Indonesia, elucidates the levels of Shivaloka. Shivalokas, Shivataraloka, Shivatamaloka, Sada Shivaloka, Param Shivaloka, and finally there is Shunya. That is the highest point is Shunya, where you can, here you can see this as designed as a dome-like structure, the ultimate goal of a devotee or a yogi. There is a spire to hold this kalasha, which is meant to collect the drops of life. It unfolds from the invisible point above the summit, pouring out of that center or bindu from which the evolution of the universe proceeds and comes down through spheres of subtle mind stuff to the compact realm of visible, tangible forms. A devotee communicates with the divine essence which resides actually in his heart, in his inner being, Hridayastham Bhavaya Devam. The main, if you look at the shrine, it can be, according to the Indonesian archaeologists and spiritual guides, the whole structure, as they described about Prambanan, this is to be divided into 3 parts. The Shikhara is the Swarlok, the Sanctum Sanctorum is the Bhuvarlok, and below is the Bhurlok. Angels flying down, filling the mid-space on the walls of the temples, connect the Bhurlok to the Swarlok, as we can often see in cave complexes in China, the apsaras flying down from the heaven, bringing different things. I cannot go into the details. This dome-like structure at the top may again be divided as, may identified as the highest peak of Sumeru, which is Shunyapada, and here you can see that bulls on the 4 sides are guarding this, peak. Here you can see better. There are many types of domes and how they are, I just wanted to show you different types of ceilings of the mandapa, because now I'm coming to the ceiling of this Kailashnath temple. This is something very rare, unusual, where you can see there are 4 bees standing on the 4 sides, and at the center there is something which they are guarding. What is that they are guarding is a question. There are lotus petals you can see all around. In each row there are 36 petals, and normally when you look at the lotus, huge lotus flowers, the petals are upturned, but here I'll show you in the portal, in the porch also, that they are turned down. So who are these beasts and what are they doing and what is that which they are protecting? So, and another unusual thing is that there are human beings under their paws and they don't look frightened. They are quiet, peaceful, serene. It seems as if they feel protected. Now, who are these beasts? Are they shardulas, vyalas, singers? Difficult to say. Most of the archaeologists have identified them as lions, but the zoologists with whom I have been discussing, they agree that they are therapsidas and which became extinct, they say, millions of years ago. But my question is that how they could be copied here if they became extinct. So it's still a question. So I don't go into the details here, how they stand and the symbolism behind their posture and all such things. So I skip. This is a photo of Therapsida and he has given comparison with the paws and other parts of these beasts. Now another question is that why Shiva is looking at this which has been protected by these 4 beasts. This is how Shiva is looking on them, and on top of this vaulted barrel there is a lion and an elephant, and a lion has overpowered the elephant. What does it symbolize? Now let us enter the mandapa. In mandapa there are 16 pillars divided into 4 parts, having 4 pillars each, and so there is a at the center on the top. I am not going into the details of, but here this is very important, that at the center of these 16 pillars on the ceiling is Nataraja Shiva. So I am not going into the details of Nataraja Shiva, but I feel that there is a connection of Nataraja Shiva carved on the ceiling and what I have earlier shown on the top of on the roof. This is Nataraja Shiva there. And now I come to the porch. Here there on the ceiling is a lotus with 16 petals in each row. This, according to me, because some people say that this pattern can be seen in churches also, and it is for the resonance, whatever you, because normally in temples when we go there is a bell hanging at the entrance, but here I don't see anything for a bell to hang, but maybe something else, maybe some kind of drum was beaten or some kind of music was played or chanting was done. But what I feel, first I'm showing you the ceiling and then I'm coming to the top of the roof. This is how I feel that in all the directions the resonance of dharma is to spread. This is the lotus on top of that which I showed you earlier on the top of the porch, and here again these beasts are protecting it. So what does it signify? This is like the karnika of lotus is more important, prominently carved out here. The petals again are turning down, not upward. So karnika seems to be more important. Again, you see this. After the porch, we come to the Nandi shrine. This is the Nandi shrine. And here, this is something again has been guarded by 4 people sitting on 4 sides. And at the center, you will again see a dome-like structure. And on top of that is a kumbha. So again, it's difficult to, I don't have time to discuss all this. What does kumbha represent and what kind of people are there, what kind of features do they have, hairstyles, everything has to be discussed in detail. Now I come to the portal. Portal, you can see from that side people are entering. First time when I entered this, I have had a question, what was the role of this portal, or the first level, the the first level of this upon the ground level is this portal, and on this portal we can see musicians sitting. So the first
Time,
feeling
sir.
that I had, sorry, finish?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just finish it. We can discuss it later. So there are many things I wanted to show you how they look similar to Indonesian architecture and kalamukhas. And this I would like to talk about just in half a minute, that these are vaulted barrels. Vaulted, where do we find it in Roman architecture and Egyptian architecture?
Invite you for question, and to whom you address your question, please refer. Yes, please.
My question is to Professor Uma Maheshwar Rao. The link between the Mongolian and the Dravidian languages, how could it come about? One is in the northeast of Asia, and the other one is south and south of India. How did these people come together so that words from one language could enter the other language? And Sanskrit is not the language of the Dravidians, but how is it that Sanskrit words entered the Mongolian language?
Right. I would explain this one. See, we have made a kind of chronological dating of Dravidian and Mongolian contact, possible contact that has taken place some time ago, on the basis of glottochronology. It is a kind of exercise that can be done to date the contact between two languages and when the split has taken place between the two language groups. And taking the basic vocabulary, Maurice Swedish has actually determined the constants for every 1,000 years, 14% of the vocabulary will be lost between the languages. And based on that one, taking 100 or 200 basic vocabulary, you can say and determine it, how many of the words have lost in the daughter languages. Based on this kind of loss, you can determine when the contact has been taken place, or the contact is split. So this has taken us to some 6,500 years ago. Mongolian, or the Mongolic group of languages and the Dravidic group of languages were actually having the same source. And now they have split, and then people have probably came down towards the west and then south further. Probably for some time they were there in Indus Valley and then came down to India, leaving behind some Dravidian speakers in the name of Brahuis, which are there now. Is a kind of tribe which speaks a language which is akin to Telugu and Tamil, now resides in the Baluchistan, in Pakistan, the bordering Afghanistan. Of course, none of these things really prove whether the Dravidians and Mongolians are really share the same language or the same thing. But you know, these are kind of, till we really get the proof. But I have presented the kind of proof that is required by historical linguists. What is that is, shared cognates must be supported by non-borrowings. That means if there is a kind of something like irregular morphological elements are found, then it is considered to be shared cognates. For example, in Sanskrit, santi in plural form, but asti in the singular form, right? So why is there in santi? Why not it is also anti or something? Or why not it is sasti or something? So all Indo-European, Proto-Indo-Aryan, or let's take Greek, Latin, or Church Slavic, and Old Persian and Sanskrit share this kind of feature. Santi and sa is the initial form in the plurals, whereas are the s-less forms in the word initial position with the verb to be. And this kind of irregularity, whenever it is there and shared between languages, it is considered to be evidence for genetic inheritance. Similar forms are found between Dravidian and Mongolian. So for example, direction words are common between Mongolian and Dravidian, like mun means in front of you, and Mongolian is also myon. Similar things are abound in between Mongolian and Dravidian. So what do we do then in that case? So we'll say that there must have been some sort of either borrowing or a prehistoric borrowing, or probably there was a common inheritance between these two. So we propose that this must be a common inheritance. For that to be happening, these people somewhere, either the Mongolians must be here or Dravidians must be there. So what the history shows is, tells us, actually it gives a conjecture that Dravidians have come down to India, okay, via the western India, and then settled down in India. So Dravidian languages are spread across India. Even today you will see the Dravidian languages in North India, like Kurukh, Malto, Kurukh and Malto are in the northern area. In the central India we have Gondi, Konda, Kuyi, Kuvi, Pengo, Manda, many more Dravidian languages spread across central India. So before, I don't want to bring all kinds of those things where the Indo-Aryans came from outside and pushed down the Dravidians into India, down south. These are all, of course, studied, and then they are very well-known kind of theories. So it's up to you to accept as the thing, okay? The theory that are there, the theories are there, and there is evidence.
Who were there in India before Dravidians?
There are Kurukh.
And how does Sanskrit enter? Sanskrit is not the
India was
language of
not
Dravidians.
empty before Dravidians entered India. There were the Austroasiatic people, Munda, Shabaras, that is modern Savara language. And many more such people are there. And Monk Khmer languages in the northeast. And Tibeto-Burman languages in the northwestern India, northeastern India. So it was not empty. There are people here. And it is considered that 30% of the Indian agricultural vocabulary is derived from Munda languages, and 30% is contributed by the Dravidian, and the remaining parts are contributed by the Indo-Aryan.
Okay. Excuse me.
Now I invite Professor. Yes? Just short questions.
Oh, it works, yes. I would like to thank Professor Uma Maheshwar Rao for introducing this topic. Of course, it is a very broad topic with many ramifications, both theoretical and practical in space and time. And, but it is important, the evidence actually is difficult to doubt. There are so many close parallels, lexical, formal, and semantic. So I should like to thank him, because further discussion will be carried on now when we sit in Hyderabad. So I would not extend this topic further, because that would be a never-ending story. But I have one question to the topic Professor Narendra Wangle spoke about. Actually, maybe I overheard it. My impression, or somehow I read years back, that actually the iconic aspect for the Buddhist representations of the Buddha, etc., that it was inspired somehow by the Greeks, you know, when there was the contact in the Central Asia and all that. Or was it different? Maybe you mentioned it, but I overheard it. Was it, I had the impression from what I could hear from you that perhaps that was more the Hindu attitude towards, maybe there was a mixture of these influences,
No,
but I'm a layman in this, yeah, just.
I understand the point. It's simply that I am isolating actual sculpting and all those areas. One could get, influence, one could be influenced by Greco-Roman art because the art is there. But the main basic idea that superiority of human Buddha over the gods, that was the central concept, which could be taken up by Indo-Greek artists. But, as Roland and others have pointed out, you have the toga-like cloak, wavy hair, thin lips, and no smile at all. So you can see the foreign influence. The earlier theory was that it was an influence by god Apollo and.
So have you seen any
symbol of Trishul in Siberian languages or in Siberia? I don't know. Because this I have seen when I was in Hungary. I found one scholar having some symbols of Shiva, as she mentioned. And he has got a book on this subject.
Excuse me, sir, can you focus your question?
Yeah. Pardon?
Focus your question.
Question is this, whether they have seen or this is available in Siberia, in their art, if they come across. Just observation it is.
No, I have no seen Trishul.
My-
I have no word on Trishul.
You're not
My
seen.
question-
Achha, but I have got.
Okay.
With me. Thank you. very
Doctor,
much.
my question to Dr. Pandey. Oh. Dr. Pandey, I have a question to Dr. Pandey. Have you gone through any mention of Vaishya Bhumi for agriculture or for industry, like Brahmani and Kshatriya Bhumi? Is there any mention of Vaishya Bhumi? Why it is not for Vaishya? Like
Vaishya Bhumi?
for agriculture and for industry, as you have mentioned, Kshatriya Bhumi is there, but is
No,
there
no.
any
Brahmani, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra
Vaishya Bhumi is there?
is there.
Is it applicable for the industry or the agrarian work particularly?
Namna vastu charam syat, Vaishya nam tad vishtadam.
So,
Yes, there is.
is it appropriate for the industry and agrarian? Business?
Industries and both for marketing trades,
Oh, it is there.
both.
Okay, Professor Sola.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very interesting article. Unfortunately, we could see just a small fraction of the linguistic data, and I would hope to see more of this. And I agree also with Professor Wacek that these are important new developments, and I also would like to emphasize that I think for a very long time we studied the history of Sanskrit within the Indo-European context, but I think we have now enough data to go beyond this and develop a linguistic prehistory of South Asia, which is certainly possible, but it's also very, very challenging. Yeah? And a number of these words you have quoted, one has to be careful. It can be very complicated. For instance, this word kara, black, this is not only found in Mongolian. Even probably the word Karakorum contains this word, this element, and also Gul, the river, is found also in Dravidian languages. Another example is Burushaski. Burushaski is an considered isolate, but it seems to have connections with Yeniseian, with some other Central Asian languages, but Burushaski has also words which you find in Pahari and Punjabi, which are definitely not Indo-European. Yeah? And it's very difficult to explain this. But I think it's a very interesting and an approach which should be pursued. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a comment. Just a minute. Okay, please. Yeah, go ahead.
In the same context of Professor Zoller, I have been researching for some years the climate change between the 4 millennium BC to the 2nd millennium BC. That's why I work also some Iranian travels and subjects. So, so-and-so demonstrated was a civilization parallel to Indo-Valley civilization in the border of the Caspian Sea. And that culture was chained exchanging trade with the Indo-Valley civilization from the middle of the 3rd millennium BC. There are works since the time of Stein until today, and also the people who have worked a lot of that is Russian archaeology, where they have proved was a very advanced level of culture, so and so where today is the area at the north of Iran, and was a lot of movement between Indo-Valley civilization to this area, and perhaps the exchange with the Aryan started very much before the group of Aryan moved to south and stay in India. So that point should be considered in this type of discussion of the modification of the languages. Thank you.
Just responding to Professor Jola's comments, see, the whole thing, the whole study of this Dravidian and Mongolian possible contact or possible having a common inheritance sprung from actually the number of cognates that are available between the two families. It's not just a very few or some borrowings. It's hundreds of such vocabulary are found between the Mongolian and Dravidian. Mongolian is just not one language. It is a group of languages. A dozen of them are distributed across the Asia, Northeastern Asia, and also in the inner Asia of China, etc. And the Mughal who came to India did not have actually any Mongolian language. They lost that one and they are Persianized. So we are not even referring to any kind of contact from them with the Dravidians. So this is a much, much back into the history, about maybe some 4,000 years BC. And in that chronological age, we are trying to connect, maybe Dravidians were there somewhere in the Central Asia. And the best example can be brought over is the word for elephant in Dravidian and in Mongolic and Turkic languages, it is something like this. Zan is the word for elephant in Mongolian, and Yagan is the word for elephant in Turkic. And in Dravidian, it is Yan. And of course, in Austroasiatic, it is Chiang. And in Burmese, it's Chang. And of course, in Chinese, it is Shang or Sang. I cannot pronounce that one, of course, Shang. All these words are actually borrowings from Afro-Asiatic languages. We started with a Dakan or Dagan, and that became Zagan, and then came down to Asia. And of course, we know that one, elephants have actually migrated from Africa to Asia some 15 to 20,000 years ago. And when they came, probably the language along with them, the people also came to Asia. And then the word has spread. From here, once the elephants entered Asia, here actually a kind of industry using the elephants for various purposes probably has given rise to the spread of the word for elephant across the Asian languages. And of course, the Indo-Aryan, which is there in India, does not share this Yan. It has Ibha, Sanskrit word Ibha. And Ibha itself is a kind of borrowing from Afro-Asiatic languages, Ib or Irb, and probably it is as a reflex in if in elephant, L, if, the L being a kind of
raw information that archaeological evidence that I found in Bali indicating that contact between India and Bali occurred at the 2nd century BC. So long time ago, there was a contact between India and Bali due to the spices trade. So Bali is located on spices trade, connecting the eastern part of Indonesia as the center of spices, Maluku, East Nusa Tenggara to the west of Indonesia, and Bali is really a strategic location, not only India, but also with China. We found archaeologically there was some Chinese bronze mirror from Han Dynasty from the 1st century ED also occur in Bali. So I think to conclude this session, and I would like to thank to the speaker and also for the audience for contribution to this session. Thank you.
May I please, yes, ask where the 4 journals are